So whether it's remarketing or repurchases or audience targeting, sponsored display really simplifies down the process quite a bit in how you're able to reach these audiences with those type of ads. And so they make it really simple, click through, and anybody who's brand registered that's a vendor or seller has access. For Amazon's DSP, there's a lot more control, but with that control comes a lot more complexity too. And so what I would say is, typically as we're working with bigger brands, we'll usually lean more towards Amazon's DSP just because we have a lot more control. But for instance, as I started as a seller myself on Amazon, I would start with sponsored display, test out some different ad types or some different strategies within sponsored display. And then if those worked well, then maybe I would graduate to DSP where I can utilize more of those controls overall. So I think it's really, when I look at it, it's kind of a combination between control and complexity. Yeah. So we've been talking to a lot of digital advertisers lately they have significant budgets on Google and Meta and different platforms. And what they're seeing is results are getting to be a little bit more challenging. And so these relate to different privacy updates that we're seeing. So iOS 14 update really hit Meta and its audience targeting capabilities because they now can no longer track you across multiple different apps. For Google, there's a lot of different reporting that seems to be going away, and it's making it a lot harder to utilize Google advertising. If you look at Amazon and you look at their audience data, it's based off of consumer shopping preferences directly instead of trying to tie back searches on Google sides or social browsing behavior on Facebook side. And so what we're seeing is with the granularity that we can get in reaching the right audiences, and then also the reporting that we can get to make sure that the advertising is operating successfully. And there's tools like Amazon Marketing Cloud that are continuing to accelerate that and help us on the reporting side between the first party data and then the reporting. And then there's also unique supply sources too that Amazon offers, like Twitch and Wondery and Fire TV and Thursday Night Football. So, we've got supply source uniqueness. We've got audience insights that are really good on the reporting side. And then we have really detailed audiences that we can show. These three in combination are making Amazon a really powerful advertising tool for those that are typically operating on the other channels. For Amazon itself, everybody knows Amazon as the e-commerce company. But they are also an advertising company, and they are also a content generation company. And so Amazon's been really smart to build out this awesome content distribution network that they can leverage and combine that with all these consumer shopping data audiences that we can then show our ads on. And so, for instance, I was watching Jury Duty on Freevee. So Freevee is this channel that Amazon offers. It's ad supported. And so there's now these interactive ads that they'll show up as normal commercials, but they can be specifically targeted to different people. So different audiences. So I could show, I'm going to be running a half marathon coming up in a month. So I could get targeted with running commercials. And then it's interactive where now I can scan a QR code and it can take me directly to Amazon to purchase that product. And so it's really cool how they're tying together the content to the e-commerce and also showing me ads that I truly care about. Those three in combination have made the platform really powerful. Just from the initial insights on the shopping, what am I truly going to be interested in, all the way to the purchase. The way that Amazon has structured sponsored display, it is set up really well to be able to trial it yourself. Especially if you've had success building out the other sponsored ad types. Adding on sponsored display can be a great next step. And so as we look at our overall advertising, really we're trying to build a funnel. And so we're starting at the very bottom of the funnel, which is typically going to be sponsored products. So these are going to be specific searches, and really we're just trying to get our ads, our products shown at the top of the page, or we're trying to capture their attention, and they're really close to the purchase, and now it's just getting over that final hurdle. Once we get a little bit further up the funnel, say with sponsored brands, now people may not know exactly what they're searching for. Let's try to capture their attention and bring them into our brand where they can now view different products and then go to that final purchase. For sponsored display, if we're talking about audience targeting, Sponsored display is that great next step. And if we look at ads as a whole, our key goal with ads is to drive purchases that would not have happened without people seeing our ads. And so sponsored display is a great way to kind of broaden out that search so we can target specific audiences. Or we can try to create loyalty with repeat purchases for those who have purchased from us. Or a little bit more bottom of the funnel strategy, but we can retarget people who have already visited our product detail page and then drive them back to purchase. And so really I would start more bottom of funnel and keep working my way up. And the key piece that we're always analyzing with advertising is how far up the funnel do we go before it starts to not make sense. And so it's always analyzing, okay, if I broaden out my audience targeting more and more with sponsored display, there's going to be a point where I get too broad. And so it's always reviewing that. But then also when you're looking at your metrics, it's realizing that my metrics from sponsored display audience targeting are going to look a lot different than my sponsored products metrics, because sponsored products, people are ready to purchase. It's going to be much easier than sponsored display. I'm trying to introduce them to my brand. Yeah, so that's definitely a way that you can view it. So you can start with sponsored display and work your way up to Amazon's DSP. We have a lot of other clients too that say if they're running on other ad platforms like Google or Meta, and they're really comfortable with how those display advertisements work, jumping directly into Amazon's DSP can be a great way to go to. And I would actually probably recommend that, especially if you're not an Amazon seller, but you're looking to utilize Amazon's platform. So in general, I would say if you're an Amazon seller and you're looking for that like next incremental step, sponsored display is a great way to go. And then moving up to DSP after that, if you're starting to see success and want to build upon that. If you're utilizing some of the other platforms, DSP, you might want to just jump straight into it, especially if you have larger budgets that you can justify that spend. So there's some fun tools and fun different approaches that you can use for these spikes, whether it's seasonality or other big shopping days like Black Friday or like Prime Day. So one tool that we like to use is the Search Query Performance Report. So you can actually break down your data every 7 days, and we can go back to some point in 2021. And so what we can do is look at, all right, spikes coming up to Prime Day. And we can see, all right, did search volume increase going into that day, or was it pretty much contained on that week itself? And what we like to do, especially, and this applies a little bit more for seasonality, but can also apply for these big search days, is we like to start ramping up our advertising ahead of time, ahead of the event, or ahead of the seasonality spike. And the key reason is that you can build up momentum and set yourself apart from your competition before all that traffic really starts flowing in. And so there's two major benefits. So one is kind of that audit portion like you were talking about. It's making sure that my ads are tuned up. So when I start spending a lot because traffic really ramps up, things are looking good. But the other key piece is starting to spin that flywheel. So it's driving that sales velocity that comes ahead of the event or ahead of the major seasonality period. And if I can do that, I can hopefully help improve my organic ranking, or I can hopefully help improve my relevancy where my ads show up at a better placement. And so these are the key things that we like to do is let's start getting more aggressive ahead of time. Our spend is still going to be more limited because traffic hasn't ramped up yet. But if we can give ourselves a benefit against our competition, if we can set ourselves apart from our competition ahead of time, now when the traffic really starts rolling in, we're going to reap the rewards of that. And hopefully it's a self-fulfilling cycle where now since I'm ranked higher, I'm going to get even more sales, which is going to increase my sales velocity better than the competitors. So if you can take advantage ahead of that spike, it's going to be a lot less costly. And then when that spike does come, now you're set up in a prime spot.